guys, the Comics Kid 2099 here to talk to you about Inuyasha, the movie. Affections touching across time. So this is part 2 of a short little series of videos where I jump into an anime that I know nothing about. I knew even less about Inuyasha going into it than I did Bleach. At least with Bleach, I had seen like 3 episodes about 10 years ago, so I barely remembered the premise of Bleach before watching Memories of Nobody, but I knew nothing about Inuyasha, and I don't know if this is canon with the TV series. I don't know when this happened in the TV series. After watching this, I did Google Inuyasha, and I think, and if I mispronounce it, I am sorry. I think it's Inuyasha, I think. But I Googled it. I think it started in 2000. I don't know when this movie came out, but I don't know when this came out in relation to the rest of the series. If the whole series happened and then a series of movies, or if the movies came out during the series, I don't know. But I do think that this does a much better job of ushering in a noob like me into this world. And I'm assuming also it does a pretty good job of being a story for the hardcore fans. This kind of sort of does the same thing that the first Pokemon movie did that I talked about in my video on Bleach Memories of Nobody. It starts with a fairly typical adventure for our characters where they are fighting a scorpion, and presumably, I guess they do this kind of thing all the time, and then you jump into the story that is much bigger than what you would normally have in the series. And so the basic premise is I cannot pronounce any character's name in this with the exception of Inuyasha, and I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that right, but there's this girl who lives in the present day, and then her grandpa is talking about how, look, there's flowers on that tree. There's never been flowers on that tree before. And then she says, oh, it's because I broke the curse on Inuyasha. And at first I thought, oh no, I have no idea what's going on here. What is happening? But she is making some food, and then she starts explaining to the audience what's going on. She goes back in time and meets up with Inuyasha, who is a half-demon, and then there's this other guy who makes lewd remarks to girls. He meets these 2 women, and he says, hey, I'd like for you to have my kids. And then there's this other girl. She has a boomerang that's like the size of a car. There's this kid who looks like Squirrel Girl. There's a little flea that talks. There is, I feel like there's another character that I'm missing. There's got to be another character that I'm forgetting. But anyway, there are these 2 elf-looking ladies, and they are working for this other guy who is also a demon of some kind. And Inuyasha's father, who is a demon, he defeated this other demon like a couple of 100 years ago, and then this guy, the bad guy, who is the son of the demon that Inuyasha's father defeated, he wants to absorb his father's energy and take over the world, I think, and basically he tricks Inuyasha into allowing him to do that. And then our characters have to defeat him, and of course he's much more powerful than he was before, much more powerful than the demon was that Inuyasha's father defeated. And so, just like in Bleach Memories of Nobody, the stakes have never been higher. And like I said, I think this does a decent job of dragging in somebody who knows nothing about the series Inuyasha and telling you everything that you need to know, and also telling a compelling story in the context of this movie. I don't know if it's good enough to make me want to keep watching, and this is a situation where I'm just not a huge anime fan. It really has to hit that right spot for me to really be into it. I don't think this is bad by any means, and if somebody for some reason asked me what anime should they get into, this I don't think would be a bad jumping on point for them if they wanted to test the waters of Inuyasha. Maybe 4 seasons is too much of a commitment. For me, any TV series is going to be more of a commitment than a 2-hour movie, or this one, when you take away the credits, is about an hour and a half. But a movie is going to be much easier to get into. We can do that in one night than 4 seasons. So you could show this to somebody, and then if they like it, then you could say, well, maybe you should give the series a shot. The thing that really jumped out to me is I felt like whoever it was who invented Inuyasha had to have read some beginner's King Arthur book. books, like David Day's The Search for King Arthur, or Jeffrey Ash's The Discovery of King Arthur, something like that. I feel like somebody was reading up on King Arthur stuff, and they thought, this could make a really interesting, like, serialized anime adventure series, because Inuyasha is a half-demon. Merlin is also a half-demon, and if that was the only parallel, I wouldn't have thought anything of it. But in the course of this story, it meant the protagonist, I cannot remember her name, she mentions that Inuyasha was trapped in a tree for a couple hundred years, and Merlin is trapped in a cave, and sometimes, depending on the story, in a tree by the Lady of the Lake, Nimue, who was his girlfriend. And I think it was Inuyasha's girlfriend, or at least it was someone who he has the hots for, and she might have the hots for him, but maybe they've never actually dated. I don't know. I think she was the one who actually trapped Inuyasha in the tree. And so I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. That seems very Merlin-ish. And Inuyasha is fighting on the side of the good guys. And Merlin, even though he is a half-demon, and even though he has done some morally despicable stuff, he is basically fighting on the side of the good guys. So I thought, well, that's kind of interesting. And then after watching this, I looked into it a little more, and apparently there is a sword in the world of Inuyasha that can only be wielded by someone pure of heart, and the scabbard protects the user. And that sounds a whole lot like Excalibur. And so it's not a beat-for-beat remake of King Arthur. There is no King Arthur equivalent here. It's basically, what if Merlin had cat ears, and the woman from the future can force him to sit down and, like, plunge himself into the ground whenever she's mad at him. So it's not an exact remake of King Arthur, but there were more than a couple of parallels that jumped out to me as a pretty big King Arthur fan. I don't really have a whole lot more to say about this. I think this does a good job of getting you into the world of Inuyasha, and if you don't like what you're seeing here, you're probably not going to like jumping further into it. And I didn't dislike the movie, but also I realized I probably wouldn't enjoy watching more of this. I didn't think it was bad, but I also didn't think that I would really want to keep going. But I do think this does a better job of holding my hand as I'm getting into this movie than Bleach Memories of Nobody. There are fewer characters here. I think this does a better job of expositing who these people are to me. It's not going in a 30-second burst of 3 minutes of exposition like Memories of Nobody did. I think it does a better job slowly explaining, okay, here's a squirrel demon, here's a flea demon, Inuyasha's a half demon, I'm from the future, I have a bicycle. I think it does a pretty good job explaining and exploring all of that. So that is all that I have to say about affections touching across time. That's all I have to say about this movie. I hope you guys like this video, and I will be back in the future to talk about some more stuff. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.